so on hindsight, I would think it doesn't matter whether it's family members or friends, when you're in a partnership, even if it's not your core department or your core job responsibilities, as a business person, I feel that we should know all aspects of the business. Yeah. It's not like I don't trust a family member, but it's because I trusted too much that now on hindsight, I felt like we should separate business and family.
Hello and welcome to Make It Work, the bi-weekly podcast where we uncover inspiring stories of modern working mamas in Asia who have redefined their career paths whilst putting family first.
And today we jump back into part 2 of our fascinating interview with Lily Q. In part 1, she talked about being married and remarried to the same person, on being a mature mother at 45 and later 48. And today we talk about her darkest moments and advice for listeners. So let's tune in.
Yeah, I would love for you to talk a little bit more about your entrepreneurship journey and what were some lessons that you've also learned that you can share with our listeners?
Wow, a lot. I started doing business when I was 32 years old actually. So I had my first beauty business with a partner.
Yeah.
Then after 8 years, we had different visions. So we separated, we part ways. Then I started Q Organics and Sugar K 2014. Yeah, so it's been a good 2004 till now, a good 20 over years. So lessons to share would be, I think, because my ex-partner is my family, one of my family members. So I trusted her because my role in the partnership is business development, operations, marketing, training, because I took up beauty courses and everything, right? So she is in charge of accounts, the back end work and all this. So I trusted her with everything. So on hindsight, I would think like it doesn't matter whether it's family members or friends, when you're in a partnership, even if it's not your core department or your core job responsibilities, but as a business person, I feel that we should know all aspects of the business. Yeah. It's not like I don't trust a family member, but it's because I trusted too much that now on hindsight, I felt like we should separate business and we should know all aspects of the business.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting point about having reliable partners, but at the same time also having a good sense of
that segregation, between work and family relationships.
Yeah, that's really challenging. So would you recommend, not going into business with close friends or even family members?
Honestly, my advice is always like, okay, so because I had the opportunity to partner with someone and now I'm doing it on my own, and this business, Q Organics and Sugar K, thrive so much better and faster than the previous business. So to me, if anybody asks me about partnership, I would say I would prefer, if you're very sure of your business, I would say just do it by yourself. Yeah.
Interesting. I guess it's a different experience for different people because there are also others who like, okay, they need another person to handle areas that they don't really know about and things like that. But how about your spouse and throughout this whole journey of your business, failure and then starting this new brand and now 2 brands and even going overseas, what has been his role and as a dad?
Okay, so there was one time he was just lying on the couch. I was on the table just doing some work. At that time, we don't have kids yet. We just got remarried again.
Okay.
And it's just casual talking, right? So on my laptop, and I asked like, hey, what is your dreams? And then he said, my dream is to help you fulfill your dreams.
Is that the textbook answer? Or is it that he's like, is this a trick question?
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I was shocked. So I stopped and looked at him. Yeah, so he has been so supportive in everything I do, including when I make some mistakes, lost some money, and he will be like, it's okay, you learn from it and just move on. So he never ever scold me or make me feel bad.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So he gave me that absolute freedom to just go and try out different things in this entrepreneur journey.
Right.
And as for being a dad, right, I'm very, very thankful that he really loves our girls.
Yeah.
So from day one, he has been very, very involved till now. So he helps me with some of the back end, the paperwork and all this, the inventory. So he doesn't need to be physically in the office. Yeah. The production, the ordering, salary, and this and that payments. But we have an accountant, so he oversees. So his job is very flexible. He can do it from anywhere. So because of this flexibility, he is able to fetch the girls for extra classes, take them to places, bring them out to eat when I had to work late and can't cook. You know, just in any little ways that he can chip in, he will just do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is this something that you all agreed upon from the start?
No, it's just like the puzzle pieces just naturally fall into So like for example, when the first baby came back, right, and my mother did my confinement, so my mother just like show him one time how to shower for the baby, right. And from that day onwards, he took over. He took over the showering of the baby, the changing diapers, and for the first 2 years, he was the one who changed the diapers.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you can see that he really enjoyed his role as a father. I don't know, maybe it's like
So maybe that was
so
you
already
fulfilling his dream.
Yeah, maybe it's like he thinks like, so old still can have the chance to be a father. So he really, takes it with pride.
Amazing. Okay. Yeah, Lily, thanks so much for sharing, all these really interesting anecdotes and examples of how you work it out with your husband. I'm sure there have also been pretty challenging times. I mean, your relationship, I think your business. Can you talk a little bit about, one of those times where you were really in the depths and what brought you out of it?
The darkest period of my life would have to be the time when my partnership with my family member turned sour. It was pretty bad. It was so bad that if she's in the office, I would be in the shop.
Right.
And both of us just can't be in the same company. So we had to finally sit down and talk about it. Like, so what do we want to do with the company, right? So initially it was like she suggested, okay, maybe I take over and she would just take a back seat, or she takes over and I take a back seat.
Okay.
So the agreement was I take over because I know how to do beauty. She's not in beauty, right?
Okay.
So it's quite a natural decision. Then I remember I went to the washroom, and when I came back from the washroom, suddenly she said, oh no, let's sell the business. Yeah, so at that time I was shocked because she already knew I was going to remarry soon. And she also knew that I thought with the idea of having a kid, right? So when she said sell the company to me, I could really literally feel like a knife slash across my heart because I'm 42 and I'm trying to have a kid. How can I start? So I mentioned to her, I said, hey, but I'm trying to start a family and have a kid, right? And it's my only livelihood. And so she said, oh, you can start another business. So that was when I felt the pain that slashed literally, Yeah, so I couldn't find any words to say.
Right.
It was so hurtful. Like, how can I try to have a baby and start another company? It's impossible in our human eyes, right? So I literally just stood up and walked away. And that was like 12 years ago. From that day onwards, we haven't spoken with each other. Of course, I hope like one day there will be reconciliation. But that sense of betrayal and that hurt is just too much for me to bear.
Right.
But you know what, Sarah? Now on hindsight, I actually could start a business and have children.
Yeah,
like,
you did it.
Like you see, my second shop, I set up my second shop and finished the renovation and start operation 5 days before I went to give birth to the first kid. And at 48 years old, I set up my third shop at Clooney Court.
Wow, yeah.
And also, like throughout the whole pregnancy, I was doing the reno, involved in the layout, the interior design. And also, about 1-2 months before I went to give birth, the shop was set up and start operation.
Right.
So now I recall back like, hey, actually, I don't know how, but somehow it was possible. But because of that incident, I actually fell into a very dark period of my life. Yeah. I fell into a mild depression.
Right.
But thank God I still have that conscious mind like, okay, I want to address my emotions. I want to mourn,
Yeah.
but I must give myself a deadline.
Yeah.
So that was in December when it happened. So I told myself, okay, I'm just going to let myself go and just, nurse and heal. But by 30th of June, I must get up.
Okay.
I must snap out of it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think it is a good thing instead of just burying inside and let it take root and then manifest in other aspects of your life in future. But because I didn't let it take root, I actually address it, come face to face with this hurt, this betrayal.
Yeah.
And I was able to overcome.
Right.
And 30th of June, miraculously, after that, I think it was maybe 1-2 weeks later, my ex-manager called me. My ex-manager was with me for 6 years in the company. So we had great chemistry.
Yeah.
When I left, I did not contact her because I didn't want to put her in a difficult situation, awkward situation, right? But surprisingly, she called me. And she said, hey, I left the company, let's catch up. So we met up.
Yeah.
We had a good catch up. Nothing much, just like updating each other's life.
Yeah.
And then just when we were at the entrance of the coffee house, just before we parted ways, suddenly she said, oh, Miss Q, if one day you want to set up your salon again, I will come back and help you. So, for 6 months, my husband was always encouraging me, it's okay lah, you can always go back.
Yeah.
If you really love beauty industry so much and you're really so passionate about it, you can always go back. But for 6 months, I was always telling him, please don't talk to me about beauty anymore. Right? I will do anything but beauty.
Right.
But that moment when my ex-manager, May, she told me, if you ever open again, then I'll come back and work for you. It was at that moment, I suddenly felt like, hey, okay, because she is a Malaysian working in Singapore, and at that time, her kids are like 2 and 3.
Oh, wow.
And if she comes and help me, it
Yeah.
means we have to start from ground zero.
Yeah.
Means definitely her salary will decrease.
Right.
So at that moment, I had 2 thoughts. One is, either she's crazy, or I must have done something right.
Sure. Yeah.
Because that was such a huge affirmation and encouragement to me that, it's so timely because I stepped out of my depression mode and I wanted to start action, but I didn't know what to do, where to go, right? And she told me this and I'm like, okay, let me go back to the beauty industry. And I just started to look for a place. And she really kept her promise and came back and worked for me. And she's still with me till today.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Lily, for sharing that story. I mean, I could really see that it brought you to a point where in your life where it was very, very low. And my hope is also that the relationship will be reconciled one day.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure.
Yeah, and the amazing thing is you've gained good friendships and that you've established a really successful business. So with that, I wanted to close out with a few more questions. And one of them is how you use your business strategies at home with your kids, in your family, and vice versa.
Okay, so the way I run my business, it's integrity, honesty, say what you mean what you say, right? Like trust, right?
Right.
Yes, and that was how, and that's how it could tide us over COVID. Yeah, and for this past 10 years. Yeah, so all these values, I also bring it home. So from young, of course, like as parents, we teach our kids to, be honest, be careful with your words. If you have nothing to say, don't say. But if you need to say something, speak words to edify people, things like that, right? So it's a lot of affirmation, confirmation. So I integrated this. It's like a natural thing from business to home. So for example, kids, right? Sometimes because out of fear, they will tell white lies and this and that.
Yeah.
But of course, as parents, we will know when they tell lies, right? So I will always say honesty above everything. It's okay. If you tell me the truth, I will not scold you. So we drill them in this way.
Right.
And now they are very comfortable just sharing with us like the so-called mistakes that they have done. So like for yesterday, my daughter accidentally spilled a glass of water on the floor. So she went to take the tablecloth. So the tablecloth was hanging on this shelf and then there's a hook, right?
Right.
Yeah. So the hook came down, dropped off. I mean, because she was trying to pull the tablecloth, so the hook came off as well. So it kind of broke.
Oh, okay.
And then she just came up to me, oh, Mommy, I'm sorry. I accidentally broke the hook. So I could see that there's no fear. And it's like she's just telling me something that has happened. So I'm actually quite proud and quite happy that she has this attitude, like not afraid to make mistakes. And because we always also share with them, mistakes are here for you to learn, to grow, but just don't repeat the same mistakes. No, but of course, like as kids, right, when they repeat the same mistakes a few times, so you just give them grace, lor. So it's same in the company. I empower my staff. I let them have the free hand to do their things and allow them to make mistakes. And when they make mistakes, I just sit them down and like, okay, so what do you learn from here? How can we prevent this from happening? And then we just move on. So I think relationships are more important than telling right and wrong. You know, when you have the connection with your kids or even like your staff, right? Naturally, they will be able to receive the message that you want to bring across, and with empowerment, encouragement, and affirmation, naturally the result will come.
Yeah, it reminds me of the verse that love casts out fear, right? So if they feel that they are in a loving and a supportive environment, it will overcome the kind of fear or guilt or shame that's associated with doing a mistake. Yeah, I met your second daughter before, and yeah, she's just like what you're saying. Very extroverted and super bubbly. So I think she takes after you probably. Actually, you know, I'm just very curious about like, how did you all tide over COVID, right? It must have been really tough.
Oh, you know, it was chaotic.
Right.
Because I just gave birth to my second child in November 2020. So it was chaotic because I just gave birth. So I was breastfeeding. I put on like 22 kilos. So can you imagine that? And it was cesarean, and then the extra weight at 48 years old, and then nursing. And to rub salt on the wound, my helper went to borrow money from illegal loan shark behind us.
Oh dear.
So amidst everything, we received text messages. Our neighbors came to tell us like, hey, somebody called and say that my helper owe money. If she doesn't pay, then they will go and disturb their family. And then hang, stick paper on our... So everything. And because out of fear, right? So the helper insisted on going back. So we were helpless, and then it was so chaotic, and then the restriction, we had to close all our salons, you know? And everything just came to like that uncertainty. Okay, so for me, I'm always that like, the more chaotic, the more I need to be calm. So thankfully I have this ability that the more chaotic, the more calm. I thought about like, how can I do this, right? Because I really don't want to let anybody go. And I really don't want my customers to stop taking care of their skin, right? Because some are in the process of healing and this and that, right? And also because of the mask, a lot of people had mask knee.
Right. Yes. And especially in Singapore, it's so humid.
And then I just pray about it and had this idea, why don't I do skin SOS? So it is like a virtual. Anybody that has any skin issue can just, we can do a Zoom call or WhatsApp FaceTime.
Telemedicine.
So face to face. So me and some of my staff, including my manager, we're just like, like telecommunication. So they call in and then we'll look at their skin and then they'll take pictures. Then from there, thank God I have an online store from day one. So then we'll say, oh, okay, so you take this product, take that product. And then some of the staff, because at that time the restriction was 2 staff in one place and you got to stand 1.5 meters apart or something like that, so we kind of just manage. So one go in and take product, one do the wrapping, one take order, that kind of thing. And then me and some of the staff, we will do the consultation analysis. Online. And so that was how we tied over. And we also gave salary to our staff.
Wow.
And
full salaries.
I think it was the government gave us some subsidy or something like that. So we just followed. But even the Malaysians, we gave them, we didn't cut. The only thing I asked from them is like, okay, so this period is closed, right? So can you use your leave to offset? But next time when there's an opportunity, I will compensate lah. So they are quite nice. They just, okay, no problem. And then when everything was stabilized, so now my therapists, instead of, therapists, they are entitled to 7 days of annual leave. But because they were so nice and they rough it out with me, went through everything with me, right? So I gave them 14 days annual leave. Yeah, each one of them, everybody, for every year, not just 1 year. So this batch, right, they have 14 days. Yeah, this batch that are so loyal, that never say want to leave, or some of my business associates, because of this lockdown. After that, a lot of staff actually quit and say, you know what, I just want to go back home. But thankfully now my staff did that.
Wow. But I guess that's meant to you being a good boss. Wow, thanks so much for bringing us through
try my
so
best.
many decades of your life, Lily.
I think at the end of the day, it's about a heart. It's the heart. It's like, how do I want to be treated if I am in this company?
Right.
So if this is how I want to be treated, then I will treat them like this way.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Well, as we close out here, what is one message that you have for our listeners, working moms to be, but women who are juggling, so many different responsibilities in their lives today?
Okay, so first of all, set your priorities. Really, you need to set your priorities. Otherwise, if you don't have a clear direction, you'll be all over the place. Especially in today's world, it's information overload, right? So if your mind is not very clear, your direction, your objectives are not very clear, you can get overwhelmed, you can be lost, right? So that's why there is this very big issue about mental health now. Mental wellness. So first, set your priorities right. Then from there, you just work it out. And then, because you have your priorities right, you will know what to say no to. You will know what to include in your circle and what to exclude. And every day you wake up, you will know what to do. Because you are very focused. You need to focus and set your priorities right.
Priorities. All right. Well, with that, I just want to thank you again, Lily, for the time that you've given us, and so many interesting stories and nuggets of the decades of your life and the many interesting chapters. I have a feeling that it is something that will continue to be very exciting. So wishing you all the best.
Thank you. You too.
Yourself, your family, and your businesses too. Thank you.
Thank you.
And hey, dear listener, before you go, don't forget to use the promo code MIW35 for a first-timer 35% discount on Q Organics award-winning facial spa treatment at any of the outlets. Check out the show notes for more details, and see you at our next episode.
Thank you for listening to Make It Work, where we uncover inspiring stories of modern working mamas in Asia who have redefined their careers whilst putting family first.
Please help others discover the show by leaving a review and rating on wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and TikTok. Meanwhile, here's to you, making it work.